So there is, and this is actually, this is we'll call it a VA secret. It actually is a VA secret because they don't publicize this. But what raters see on their computer whenever they are deciding a claim, and I know this because I have tons of friends, not tons, I have a few friends that are raters right now, and I speak with them. We're all government employees. It's fine. And so how that process looks, because you mentioned 38 CFR, which is critical. Okay. And those symptoms in 38 CFR. So for instance, GERD, if you Google GERD 38 CFR, you're going to find a link that says eCFR, which is electronic, CFR. And then you hit that button, you would word search GERD, not GERD. It would be the gastro reflux disease, whatever the word is. But yeah, there you go. He's got my guy.
Yeah, you don't want to read these. They're a
Yeah.
very dry read.
Control F goes a very long way on the internet, but that's how you figure out your symptoms. Those symptoms are on the DBQ, and this is really getting at the VA secret, okay, that raters have. Depending on how that DBQ is completed, right? So if you say I have migraines 3-4 times a month, I think is the criteria for 50%. It might be 4 and 5, whatever number it is. If that's what you say, and more importantly, because we are informed and educated, we told our primary healthcare team that. So now our testimony is supporting our evidence, okay, and not, if you give a testimony in lieu of evidence, um, the weight of that self report is not saying it's not important. It's there. It's just not as good as supported by medical evidence, right? So I tell my primary healthcare team I get 4 to 5 migraines per month. Boom, in my VA health records. I go to my CMP exam. I tell them I get 4 or 5 migraines per month. How that translates when that DBQ from the exam company is sent to the VA, it's not AI or machine learning, but it's a automatic software that pops up on your claim that says, hey, at least as likely as not, the system, so the rater doesn't recommend anything. They do, but I'll get to that in a second. The system recommends what it should be, right? So the system will say, hey, this was at least as likely as not service connected. I, meaning the software, is recommending 50%. And so what the rater does, they have 3 options. One, and let's just say migraines at 30% for what I'm about to say next. So let's say the system recommended migraine service connected at 30%. The rater, right, the VSR, now has 3 options to make. One, accept, based on the evidence, accept the recommendation from the system. Boom, service connected migraines 30%. Easy peasy, they meet their time quota, claims done. The second option is to reduce it. So, hey, I know the system recommended 30%, but I'm gonna reduce it. And they have that power. But if they reduce it, they have to justify why. And it goes back to what? Medical freaking evidence. That's why it is critical to have evidence for that claim. And even if they, give you a 10% for migraines or 0%, now you have the higher level review, which to be real does suck. Okay, it happens. The VA is not perfect, but medical evidence is what saves it. It's what saves your claim, right? The third option they have, so they can approve the recommendation, they can lower the recommendation, or they can raise the recommendation. And again, if they raise it, it has to be justified through evidence. So just knowing that VA secret, okay, I think it adds more weight to what you said, Jason, about understanding the symptoms that the VA is looking for, right? It's not that the VA wants; they are looking for that. I think GERD is a fantastic example, and I know you're going to go into that. But if I know the symptoms for GERD, by God, I'm going to have evidence that states I have these symptoms, and then I'm going to give my testimony. So as a CMP examiner is marking that DBQ, all of a sudden it goes back to the VA, and then the prompt says, hey, GERD 30%, right? GERD 60%. That is much, much easier. And it makes not only the CMP examiner's job easier, it makes the rater's job easier. The raters are bound by time quotas. Whether you agree with it or not, that is, that's neither here or there, but they have time quotas. They have to punch out claims like that. And with especially now, today, with PACT Act, what seems like 2 years ago, which is insane to say, well, I guess a year and a half, there is technically still a backlog, but it's not as much as they thought it was going to be, which is a good sign. There's still like 900,000 or something claims, right? So imagine you're being a rater. You got 30 claims to get through today. Answer this question yourself. Are you going to agree with the prompt and go
Right.
fast? Or are you going to be like, you know what? I'm going to control F this veteran's, VA medical records, and then make a recommendation to increase or lower that. No, the likely scenario, I'm not saying it's right. I'm just saying the likely scenario is the rater is going to agree with the prompt because they don't have to justify it. It's easy. And it gets back to the 38 CFR. Now that was a rant, Jason. I feel like I ranted, so I'm jousting back to you. Let's
Right.
go with veteran A and veteran B
Yeah.
example, and I'm looking forward to what you're about to say.
Awesome. So, number one, I want to add one thing to what you said, and it's short. Don't worry. Is we tend to think we know what the VA wants to hear because we heard somebody say something somewhere.
Yeah.
It doesn't always apply, right? It might have been a situational thing for a specific situation. The VA doesn't care really on how much your migraines are affecting your daily life, and and you this and you that. I can't ride a motorcycle and I can't play with my kids. There's nowhere in the schedule of ratings that assigns the 50, 30, or 10 does it say can't play with kids or your life sucks now.
Solid.
Those are not the words that it's looking for. Now, yes, it can affect those things, so don't get me wrong, but you need to have the right words to be able to add in there, which then, of course, makes the VA's job easier, right? So we want to make it as easy as possible. So I'm going to give you the quick A and B, right? So we'll use GERD, and both veterans, A and B, both have GERD, both have it documented enough for service connection, so that part's fine, okay? Because remember, CMP is for two things: getting service connected and getting the appropriate rating, okay? There's too many times where you're like, why'd they rate me so low? Well, it's probably because you missed saying something. Now, ideally, like Clay had mentioned, you have already front-loaded all of this information with your primary care provider, okay? All this stuff is in there. Maybe you even went and got a DBQ completed by your primary care provider. And this is stuff we talked about in the past, both I think on this channel and our own personal channels, which is very important. I mean, you want to swim upstream with this stuff. You can still correct it at the CMP exam if you didn't do it up front, but it's way better if you're just doubling down on the information just over and over again, saying the same stuff. So now you're at the CMP exam, you're already primed for service connection. That's not an issue. Veteran A is just going with the flow. Maybe he heard some things somewhere, and he thinks he's prepared enough because he has a buddy that got service connected for a bad knee. Right now, he's going in for his GERD, and the CMP examiner is having some conversations with him, and it's just kind of conversational based. It's not like they're testing you with anything. You're just sitting across the desk having a couple questions, and they're answering. They're filling in the blanks, right? So they're just answering. You're answering the questions. They're asking you questions based on whatever they have on their computer, and basically the questions are, tell me about your GERD, right? Tell me about besides the fact of making it service connected, what kind of signs or symptoms do you have? Loosely is what they're asking, right? Tell me how it's affecting you. They're not asking, well, I can't play with my kids, right? They're asking you legitimate signs and symptoms that the VA is going to be looking for, but they're not going to tell you the words that they're looking for. So you need to be able to say that. But veteran A didn't prepare, so veteran A says, it's bad heartburn. Okay, great. Is there anything else going on? Well, it's really bad heartburn. Is there anything else? Well, it's really super, super bad. Horrible, horrible, horrible. Keep you up at night. Horrible, heartburn. Okay, well, all you've said is heartburn so far. And then maybe they push a little bit more, and then you throw out something like, well, it really affects my quality of life. Like that's really going to matter. They don't, that's not even a thing on GERD, right? So, okay, the C&P examiner is now like, okay, look, I've asked you 17 different times on how this is affecting you. You've given me heartburn and it affects your life. Okay, cool. Thanks. Have a great one. Off you go. Now, veteran B comes in, same situation, but this veteran actually read the schedule of ratings and is able to regurgitate the information. So now they're sitting in there and they're asking them, so the same questions, and the answers are a little more than heartburn. They're saying, well, I have heartburn, I have regurgitation, sometimes I vomit, sometimes there's some blood in my vomit, I've lost weight over the last couple of years, I have pain in my sternum, I have pain that kind of shoots, I feel like I'm having a heart attack, the pain in my chest kind of shoots down my arm. It's been really horrible. I really feel like there is just a considerable impairment to my health because I understand that it's eroding my esophagus and, it can result in cancer, right? So now you've named off like 5 or 6 different symptoms of GERD that are actually listed in the schedule of ratings for GERD. And that's going to align more with a 60% rating, for sure a 30, but probably a 60% rating, where veteran A is going to get maybe a 10%, So the difference, even if you're exhibiting the same things, it's what you're saying that matters. And they're looking for specific words. I'm a big fan of, look, this is not some sort of closed book test, right? It says exam. And so we all freak out and go, okay, let me write the, answers on my wrist or something, No. Write it down, take it in. Everybody thinks that we all have TBI, so who cares, right? Show up and be like, look, I this is really important to me. I wrote down a few notes so I don't forget, because believe me, I forget where I put things all the time. How am I going to remember everything I need to say at a C&P exam when I'm already stressed out? It's not going to happen. Write it down, take the pressure off, show up prepared, and just answer the questions with the relevant information needed to get you not just service connected, but the correct rating.